The bodies were discovered early yesterday morning by a farm worker along a well-traveled road. They had not been there 12 hours earlier.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're examining notorious cartel assassinations that shocked nations. We'll explore what happened and see if those responsible faced any justice.
Actually, we are feeling very insecure. Each day you never know where something will happen that can affect you or your family.
Fernando Villavicencio.
Fernando Villavicencio was always outspoken about alleged links between politicians and organized crime.
Before entering politics, Villavicencio was an investigative journalist who criticized former President Rafael Correa. As such, he spent time in prison and in exile. After Ecuador's National Assembly was dissolved, Villavicencio ran for the presidency. In August 2023, after getting threats from gangs, he was leaving a campaign rally in the capital city Quito. Just as Villavicencio got to his car, he was ambushed and fatally shot.
A man who'd exposed corruption. A man who said he wasn't afraid.
The assassin, Johan David Castillo Lopez, also threw a grenade, which thankfully did not go off. 9 people were injured, and Lopez died from gunshot wounds. The criminal group Los Lobos claimed responsibility for the attack, but this is disputed. Several people were arrested in connection with the assassination. However, all of them were killed in prison.
2 daughters remembering their father. A very personal goodbye after what was a very public murder.
Rodrigo Lara. In 1983, Lara was appointed Colombia's Minister of Justice by President Belisario Betancourt. He soon began targeting criminal organizations, corrupt politicians, and Pablo Escobar and his group, the Medellin Cartel. Lara's interference contributed to Escobar's expulsion from Congress and investigation by authorities. In April 1984, Lara was traveling in a convoy when Biron Velázquez and Ivan Dario Guisado, paid by the Medellin Cartel, drove up to his vehicle on motorbikes and opened fire, killing the minister.
Los hombres de siempre se equivocan si creen que pueden derrotar a Pablo Escobar Gaviria.
While Guisado was slain by Lara's bodyguard, Velázquez was later arrested for the assassination and then paroled in 1995. Escobar fled to Panama days after Lara's murder, as the government looked for justice.
He didn't wear it.
Wouldn't have made a difference.
Jaime Ramirez. Working alongside Rodrigo Lara in stamping out cartel influence was Colonel Ramirez, director of the Colombian Drug Enforcement Unit for the National Police of Colombia. In 1984, Ramirez was involved in an operation with the DEA to find the Medellin cartel stash in the jungle, delivering a huge blow to the group. But this made Ramirez a target. In November 1986, while traveling with his family, unknown assassins connected to the Medellin cartel drove their vehicle alongside Ramirez's car. After taking out the car that contained Ramirez's bodyguards, they opened fire. They wounded Ramirez, causing him to crash before finishing the job.
Usted le pidió a un niño que me entregara esto.
In 1992, Ramirez was posthumously awarded the title of Brigadier General, a position he was meant to have a month after his passing. Margarito Martinez.
Uno no puede decir, no, es que no me da miedo mi trabajo, no me asusta la muerte, no puedo decir eso, ¿no? Pues, lógico.
As a photojournalist specializing in crime in Tijuana, Mexico, Martinez was a well-known figure in the community. However, he was falsely linked to a Facebook group that openly criticized cartels and unmasked members' identities. After receiving threats, Martinez was in the process of getting governmental help when in January 2022, he was fatally shot.
He'd reported and been incorporated into a mechanism to protect journalists, but despite this mechanism, he was still murdered.
Adrián El Uber Ramos and José El Huesos Ochoa were reportedly paid around $2,500 to assassinate Martinez. In December 2022, the duo was both sentenced to 25 years in jail in order to pay $25,000 compensation to Martinez's family. As of the time of writing, the people who ordered the journalist's murder have not been charged.
17 de enero del 2022, Margarito Martínez Esquivel.
¡Presente! Chalino Sanchez.
Cuando no me veas me tientas, pa' que sepas por donde ando.
After working with his brother Armando as a coyote, an immigrant smuggler, everything changed for Sanchez in 1984 when his brother was murdered. Four months after surviving an attack at a gig in Coachella, Sanchez was handed an alleged threat while performing in Culiacan, Mexico. he left the venue with his family, an armed group pulled over their vehicle and took Sanchez. His body was found the next day, seemingly executed by a cartel. Another musician who was allegedly murdered by the Los Zetas group was Valentin Elizalde in 2006. Only a year later, Sergio Gomez was fatally attacked by an apparent gang. Jaime Zapata.
Zapata says while her son chose a life of service, these men chose a life of crime. Now she questions what message the U.S. government is sending to others about crimes against federal agents.
In February 2011, Zapata and Victor Avila, two agents with the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, were traveling from Laredo, Texas to Mexico City. While driving in the Mexican state of San Luis Potosí, two speeding vehicles appeared, began opening fire, and rammed the agents' car off the road. Even though Zapata and Avila loudly shouted they were U.S. diplomats, the armed men continued shooting, injuring the agents and fleeing.
Their vehicle was cut off and bandits attacked. Both agents were critically injured by gunfire.
Zapata drove away from the scene before collapsing and passing away. Avila was treated for his wounds. The Los Zetas cartel was responsible for the attack, and eventually, the murderers were arrested.
Agent Zapata's story is one that we must not forget, and it is one that we will not.
The 2010 San Fernando Massacre.
This monument reminds us the impunity that we have in our country.
In 2010, as a war between former allies Los Zetas and the Gulf Cartel consumed the Mexican city of San Fernando, an injured Ecuadorian teenager called Luis approached some Mexican Marines. He told them he had just survived a terrible massacre. Luis had been part of a group of immigrants traveling towards the U.S. who were taken to a warehouse by members of Los Zetas. There, the gang executed 72 people, with only 3 lucky individuals surviving. The group apparently did this to steal money, get information, and make sure the immigrants were not working with the Gulf Cartel. Los Zetas are also believed to have slain 2 of the investigators into the massacre. Eventually, 81 members of the gang were arrested. Enrique Kiki Camarena. After working for the police, Camarena joined the recently formed U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration in 1973. Eventually, he joined the branch in Guadalajara, Mexico, where his work led to several plantations being seized.
Yeah, all we got is field workers and a couple of managers, but the consolation prize is we got all gallons of dope there.
In February 1985, Camarena was abducted by corrupt officials. He was believed to have been responsible for the closure of the 2,500-acre site known as Rancho Buffalo the year before, leading to retaliation. Camarena's body was found a month later, showing signs of abuse. The investigation concluded that Guadalajara cartel founders Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, Rafael Caro Quintero, and Ernesto Fonseca Carrillo were responsible, getting a sentence of 40 years each. Several others were sentenced for their participation too. However, there have been allegations the CIA was also involved.
Whatever they want, whatever they're looking for, you don't know anything.
The Monterrey casino attack.
President Felipe Calderón came to the crime scene on Friday and placed a wreath in front of the charred building.
In August 2011, members of the Los Zetas cartel sought revenge for the Casino Royale in Monterrey, Mexico. The owner had not paid a protection payment, so they decided to send a message. The cartel forced their way into the casino, pouring gasoline everywhere as people ran for the emergency exits, only to find the doors locked. Then, Los Zetas set the building on fire and left within 3 minutes of arriving. All of this was captured on surveillance footage. When emergency services arrived, they found the bodies of 52 people inside and many injured. By 2022, only 5 people who were linked to the attack were arrested on unrelated weapon charges.
The attackers are said to have doused flammable liquid in the casino and then set it alight.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. The 2011 San Fernando Massacre.
The Zetas have moved in.
They are Mexico's most violent, most depraved, most feared crime cartel.
In March 2011, over several days, public transport buses filled with passengers in San Fernando, Mexico were taken by Los Zetas. It's speculated the group did this to force people to work with them or interrogate passengers suspected of involvement with the Gulf Cartel. The kidnapped people were assaulted and many allegedly made to fight each other in gladiator-style fights. Over several weeks, the authorities began finding numerous mass graves. In the end, 193 bodies were discovered. Soon after, 82 people involved with Los Zetas were arrested in connection with the massacre. 16 corrupt police officers were imprisoned for aiding the gang. This horrific event led to the cartel's higher-ups, such as Miguel Treviño Morales, being imprisoned.
He was captured on this country road near the Texan border. With him, his bodyguard, his accountant, $2 million in cash.
Which leader of a criminal organization is the most frightening? Pablo Escobar? Ronnie and Reggie Kray? Griselda Blanco? Al Capone, or someone else? Let us know below. Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.